Good evening. I am Amadin Ogbewe. Now, the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2021 has been greatly anticipated for an extended period of time. The bill, which has caused widespread controversy through the different stages of legislation, has now been sent to the President by the National Assembly for assent. Many are aware of specific clauses for direct primaries, electronic transmission of results, and others. What people might not know is that the process of applying pressure and holding the National Assembly to order has been largely organized by civil society organizations. Today, my guest is a man at the heart of this movement. He's protested, demonstrated, written letters, applied pressure, and has in fact utilized nearly every legal means to ensuring the passage of this bill into law. Ariyo-Dare Atoye, the Executive Director, Adopt a Goal for Development Initiative, joins me today as President Buhari is set to assent to the bill to speak about his journey in activism. All right, welcome to Top Talk, Sir Ariyo-Dare Atoye. Good evening.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
All right. Like I've said, most people know you and your activism and all you've done so far. You've been very involved in the process leading up to where we are right now with the Electoral Act, and it has gotten to the President. Now, while people know about the Act and the controversies, they don't quite know what your motivations are. Now, the first thing I'd like to know is, why you? Why do you have to be the one to do this? Why was it a mission that was given to you? Did you just wake up and say, this thing, I'm going to do it? Why?
Well, thank you again for this opportunity. To bear it all, I would like to say that I'm a passionate Nigerian, and I believe in the very basic process of governance, and I'm a student of politics, and I understand that you cannot build something on nothing, and in that case, the foundation, the essence of governance actually starts from the leadership recruitment process. What that means is that since we are practicing democracy and not governance through the barrel of the gun, then democracy has a foundation and has a basis. And what is the basic elementary or the basic foundation is the place of elections, and that is what actually differentiates democracy from dictatorship. And so, our elections since 1999 have been marred by irregularities, have been marred by rigging, have been marred by malpractices, violence, and all of that. And there have been agitation for years that we should reform our electoral process, and that started, I think, in post-2007 elections when the late President Muhammadu Buhari constituted the popularly known Uwais Committee report, and that it was a far-reaching committee that made the far-reaching recommendations, which has endured even up to today. And I can tell you that a lot of points, a lot of recommendations in that report have been the guiding principles of most of other interventions that have happened since 2007 in terms of election reforms in Nigeria. And so, when you look at it, there is a journey. I mean, there was a journey, and when we got to the 8th National Assembly, when they made 4 attempts to get this bill passed, because a good number of us participated, we invested our time and energy, but on 4 consecutive occasions, they transmitted this bill, and it was not. Now, what got me interested fully in this was because I read the letter issued by a statement issued by President Buhari on the 4th occasion when this bill was not assented to. The President said that it was already getting very close to the elections, and I would not want to sign something that we will not be able to utilize, that can he extract an undertaking from the member of the National Assembly that the bill should be signed but commence operation post 2019 general elections. But I think the 8th National Assembly didn't take that unnecessary bill, because it was unnecessary because it's unpatriotic for the president to say, I do not want election reforms to be, to be binding on me, or to pass through the process of free, fair, and credible elections that this legal framework was going to guarantee. So I got interested that early enough we have to start quickly, that we have to mount pressure on the president. So apart from the fact that we got interested, we also got support from friends, partners, who came, to support us. And we also get a little funding from the Open Society Initiative for West Africa, OSIWA, who also saw our drives, our passion, and decided to support us, at least, to take care of activities and some other challenges, to mitigate some of the challenges that we have faced during the process. And that actually spurred us, to do a lot. And I must commend activist partners, especially OSIWA, and some of the people who actually, supported us along the way. And I must also mention that as part of our strategy, we did not only just set out to pursue this very important goal, we also consulted some eminent persons who had this experience or who had participated in the previous exercise, and including the amendment that was not taken. For instance, one of them is the former Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki.
Yeah, can I take you up on that? What you've mentioned so far, you seem to have altruistic reasons for, wanting this bill to be passed for the good of the nation.
Absolutely.
But what do you say to persons who have this belief that you're being sponsored? You've mentioned Bukola Saraki. He's the opposition right now. It is very well in his interest for the polity to be seen to be stirred up by others against the ruling party. So what do you say to people who might accuse you of, being led by these persons behind the scenes?
There are certain things, allegations that will, on the face of it, will be one way or the other be baseless, in the sense that when you say electoral reform, passing the Electoral Act amendment, who is going to be the beneficiary? Is it because some people are in opposition? Don't forget that those who are in opposition today were in government yesterday. And this is not advocacy that started yesterday. It's been long, and we've been involved, including under the Saraki dispensation as the president of the Senate. The only thing that we enjoyed then was that they listened to us and they took into consideration most of the proposals that we saw. And you see, we must make it very clear, and one thing that people must say it is as it is. If you enjoy support as people from civil society, from some individuals and some groups, some partners, you have to say it as it is, so that the day they are not doing well, you stand to criticize them. It's on record that some of them will have also criticized. The only thing that we do constructive criticisms. We don't, including even the Buhari government, we do constructive criticisms. We believe that, for instance, today, we are going to praise the president if the president signs the bills into law. And we're already even telling the president, because the president's birthday is December 17, 2021. The next birthday is on December 7. And we're already appealing to the president to give us a birthday gift with this bill. That doesn't mean that I've been on this studio and I've criticized the government. That doesn't mean that I have a pact with President Buhari. It is true that what we did as part of our strategy was to reach out to some of the leadership. We reached out to Senator Omar Agege, who sponsored the bill, or who sponsored the bill again, because they didn't revive the version that was dropped after the end of the 8th Senate. And when the 9th Senate commenced, Senator Omar Agege and one other person from the North sponsored this new bill that is currently, before the president. And we set machinery in motion. We invited Omar Agege, we invited Senator Ekweli Madu, who also is a veteran in terms of constitutional review and election processes or electoral amendments. And we invited them. They Omagige refused to come. He sent a representative. Ekwurimadu came. And the reason why we decided to do that is to give us that opportunity to be able to learn from them, to hear from them. And we also invited Saraki, we invited Gali Nahaba, we invited some other persons, and they came.
So it seems you're in the middle. Are you saying, to put it out there plainly, you are not partisan?
No. Even if someone, assuming I'm partisan, what do I want to gain, by trying to, do I want to seek any personal benefit by pursuing the amendment of the
because some persons say that, take for instance, during the Goodluck Jonathan era, that there were a lot of civil society organizations who rose up. We had the issue with the Chibok girls. There were organizations formed off of that event alone, and many people believe that it was, the opposition at the time foiling those civil society uprisings. And from the international view, or from someone watching from outside, when you see civil society constantly being riled up, complaining and all that, it gives the impression that the government is not doing the very best. And then since, these are allegations anyway, since President Buhari's victory, most of those, or a huge chunk of those civil society organizations have become quiet.
Well, let me just address your concern. It's true, it could be true that some persons were teleguided, and then you can also, let's not deceive ourselves. I'm not worried that some people took advantage of the Chibok for political gains. It is always the case globally, and I would want to remind you that the Democrats capitalized on the Black Lives Matter movement, capitalized on what happened to George Floyd, capitalized on COVID, capitalized on everything. It's a global trend. It's not limited to Nigeria. If the Jonathan administration has been proactive enough, probably we have succeeded in getting the Chibok girl, but they will have also capitalized on it and take the glory for elections that were able to rescue the girl. So they were all going to make political capital out of it. It's the way of politics, and you can't deny them that opportunity. The only thing is just that from those who have claimed to be neutral member of the civil society, and if you criticize, if you have a standard mechanism, and it should be, that standard should be sustained and maintained across board. So if something had happened under a previous administration and you have not declared partisanship with any party, then you should sustain that level of scrutiny. And I think that's where your concern comes in here, that have they in equal measure sustain that scrutiny, from one administration to the other. Yeah, it is not all of them. Some have actually done so, some have sustained it, some have broken what you call a pact with the APC. And let me also say this. It is not a problem for activists to have partisan interests or to be a member of a political party.
Really?
And I've said it time without number that Nigeria used to misconstrue it. But one thing you must have is a red line, a standard. You see, activists can be a member of a political party, they can participate in the political process, but you should have what you call a red line, where your cessation of your pact with your party or a government that you're serving stops, or that cessation starts where there is a conflict with the public interest. One thing that an activist must stand to defend at every point in time is public interest. The moment public interest has been violated, you have the responsibility to react or to resign or to leave and all of that. And let me also remind Nigerians that our foremost activist, Chief Gani Fayomi, is also, and a preacher of this, that people should go into politics and seek political power. The fact that it didn't join the mainstream party doesn't mean that people should not seek for political power. He founded and ran on the NCP National Conscience Party. Some other activists actually joined PDP, and currently we have activists who are in APC. The only grudge that I have with some of them is that, you see, there must be a red line. The moment you know the government is messing up and the government has done that, you should be able to come out. Like me, I didn't serve the Jonathan administration. I have a lot of friends with Jonathan. And when I came out openly to criticize that government, I wrote op-eds against the government. But even though when it was 2015, and I said, no, I don't support General Buhari coming to power. And I said, look, I would prefer a Jonathan. I made it very clear, and I have the right to exercise my franchise. And on this same matter, Electoral Act, and I think it's for everybody. APC members are going to benefit from it. PDP members are going. There are constituencies where APC will field candidates that are popular, and PDP will have the rigging power, or another part will have the rigging power over the popular candidate. But the moment there is a transparent process, the popular candidate will always win. And who says that this is even meant for the politicians? That is why we today. Both PDP governors and APC governors are saying that Buhari should not sign the bill because of direct primaries. But we are saying that the bill must be passed. And our position is very clear that the problem is not the mode of primaries. The problem is the character of Nigerian politicians.
I was going to get to that. But before we get there, let's go back in time, along the timeline. Remember, even on our programs here on KAFTAN TV, when you came around, you did refer to what was unveiled, the leak of the draft of the bill, as an attempted state capture coup. Now, one of the reasons that some persons were making certain reservations against electronic transmission was that Nigeria is not ready for its coverage and all that. Now, let's go to Anambra election, which was the first, will I call it an experiment to see what we would see in the future. One of the major candidates, I think it was the PDP candidate, Val Ozigbo, actually had to share his hotspot with the INEC officials so that they could capture him. And this was in Anambra. This is in the southeast. You know, most of the, what do we call it, the flag back then was that the northerners would be the one who would be disenfranchised because they don't have as much coverage and all that. So what do you say now, with the way the Anambra election went, the issues with the beavers, the issues with capturing, and the issue with network, more than one, we had the PRP candidate, he didn't even vote. He was a candidate, he could not vote because of network issues and all that. So now, do you think perhaps, in hindsight, that they might have been saying those things out of genuine interest and perhaps they were not, it wasn't a coup, as you said?
Yeah, no. So it's good for us to have a basic understanding of what has happened. And I appreciate your questions. And I want to say that that's part of the things we're going to do post assent of the president to this bill. We really need to break it down for Nigerians to understand the every process, including the concerns they are having. Now, let me explain the technological or the glitches that actually happen. And so there's a difference between software updates. The technology deployed doesn't need a network or internet to accredit anybody or to verify anybody. What happened was that a new technology was deployed called BVAS, the bimodal voter accreditation system. Bimodal voter accreditation system was deployed, BVAS. And before then, they had used, the card reader. From card reader, I think they tested another technology. So the BVAS was tested in Isoko, a by-election in Isoko in Delta, and it worked well. And they deployed to Anambra State. So what happened was that, because it was a new technology, it requires update at a point. So some of them actually, maybe they didn't do it when they ought to have done it. So it was difficult for them to sufficiently capture because that update had, made it difficult for the thing to work efficiently. And that's exactly what happened. So with for Val to have shared his hotspots was to help the device, to get updated. And so the lesson for INEC here is this: as we move into future elections in Ekiti and Osun, INEC must ensure that before these tablets or devices are distributed to poll workers, they must have updated almost everything. Then, like I said, it doesn't require internet to accredit people. The only thing you now require internet is one. The process where you require internet is to update the devices. Then after voting, so you're going to use the device to accredit at the polling unit, after accreditation, that's either through your fingerprint or through your facial capturing, then the next thing is that you can now use that same device to snap the result sheet, which is also what so far we have limited our own definition of electronic transmission of results to. So the only time you are now going to require internet, like I said, twice for updates before making use of the tablet. Then after elections, you are also going to require internet to be able to transmit the results to a dedicated portal, and also transmit the data from the accreditation. Now, let me also now shock you in terms of those who are making argument about network coverage. And I said, I think I said it on your TV station. I don't know if I mentioned it, and probably maybe you can rehearse or rewatch it. I said that internet shouldn't be a problem because you know why? Senator Marafa was on here on a national TV station, and he said that the breakdown or the shutdown of communication services was needless. He said, as we speak, that the bandits are making use of Turaya and they are communicating perfectly. There is a Turaya service, the Mubadala service. There are a lot of voice and data service that have global coverage that you can make use of. So, if today INEC doesn't want to make use of, doesn't want to work with MTN or any of this, what you call telecommunication firm in Nigeria, they can decide to go into partnership with Turaya and make use of voice and data services. They just need to pay, and the technology will be made accessible to them. So if bandits can make use of Turaya and able to communicate in Zamfara, so what stops us from also, partnering with international telecommunication firms where there is where we are at disadvantage or where network is insufficient? So we can always make do with partnership in order to cover whatever gaps we have in this country. So it shouldn't be a problem. There shouldn't be a limitation, and we have sufficient time to plan before now and 2023, and INEC can go into all of those partnerships. So I have taken my time to explain that it wasn't really that internet was required for accreditation, but it was required for an update that was not done before voting. Now, another area where we are going to have an engagement with INEC post this assent is we now need to ask if it is possible for all Nigerians to now go and update their record. Because, for instance, we know that the age of data is also very important when it comes to technology. And like somebody wrote, and we are also going to engage INEC on that it was easier for this device to capture and register, to capture and accredit voters who recently collected their PVC, that it was difficult for those who have had their PVC several years ago. No. So if that is the case, it means that this technology is also sensitive to the age of data that have been uploaded on them. And in that case, if there is need for us now to start doing what we call update, either fingerprint update or facial update, then we need to have that conversation with INEC. But so far, so good. The election was peaceful, it was free, fair, and reasonably credible, and it meets minimum standard.
All right. Let's go back to your activism now. Now, many people do believe that nothing goes for nothing, and I'd like to know. I'm just interested in your personal experience during the course of trying to do what is right. Have you been, what is the right word? Would I say suppositioned? As someone tried to veer you off course by offering incentives?
Let me explain. That's why I'm grateful. I mentioned Open Society Initiative for West Africa. Now, on 3 occasions, they've supported us. They supported us with a project called Electoral Reform Advocacy. And what we did and what shocked them was that the money was not much, but we're able to stretch it, including working without pay, for a very long time. Because our sense of patriotism was that to get this bill passed. And when we saw that little funding, and we know that we cannot go to anywhere to source for money, we decided to work with that money. We stretched it beyond limit. And I want to commend some of the team of dedicated staff who actually worked with us. Then at a point in time this year, when it was so difficult, they also came with a little funding they were able to get because we built credibility with them. Now, as we speak, so let me also shock you. As we speak, They are going through a very difficult process and reorganizing. As I'm talking about Open Society Initiative for West Africa. As you speak, they've also been able to either partner or something like get a small funding for us. The only thing is just that it's activities-based funding. This is almost little to nothing. But one thing is this: for instance, sometimes you invite media people. You have to buy drinks. Not necessarily you don't pay media people. But most of the media who have been very selfless. But when they come sometimes, and there are certain little things you need to pay for, you're able to pay for those things. You're able to the banners, the placards, the cost of transportations, and some other things that you need to. All those things will cover for it. It's been so selfless. If it is about money-making process in this, I would have told you that at least people will have seen the difference. I don't know.
But the question really is not, how you get your funding. The question is, have there been offers, at least someone, for instance, like you said, there's a lot of selflessness involved in what you're doing. Yeah. People are managing, trying to do what's best. In that regard, it almost makes the civil society, your persons, susceptible to incentives. So if someone knows that you are doing this selfless thing, they can throw a bullion van at you, and expect you to
yeah,
grow.
Okay. So if somebody appreciates me because of what I'm doing, it's not a problem. I'm just saying, if you are appreciated and that will not make you to shift course, it's not really a problem. But if you are giving money to compromise a process, it's a problem. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
Now, I've received accolades. I've received support. And there was a time that even people, I was invited to a Zoom, Clubhouse intervention. And some people pledged that they were going to support. And some of them, some people will say, okay, the little we have, Ariyo will give to you. And we made it public. And let me say this. It's not something that ordinarily should elicit concern about maybe people are trying to get money, from, or people are trying to make money, or as a money-making process. This is something that is altruistic. This is something that is in public interest. And I don't know why anybody would want to come and give me money. So the politicians, sometimes there are politicians going to give you money to aid a process that will lead to transparency of election in a manner that will even be difficult for them to rig. The average perception is that our politicians are looking for opportunity to rig elections. So if politicians are coming to you to say they want to support you with money for you to fight for what is right, and then
as of now, there's a kind of a dichotomy between senators or lawmakers versus governors.
Yeah.
So as it is, it seems that someone could say that senators would be interested in the bill, in pressure for the bill to be passed as it is, and governors, on the other hand, would probably want pushback, want people to say, no, we don't want direct primaries, we need you to look at this. So in that respect, someone could
say, okay, yeah, why can't you side with the National Assembly? So that's funny. Then it will be so foolhardy of member of the National Assembly because on your show here, we almost used the word, let me use the word, battered them when they were not doing what was right. You see, what matters is the consistency. Today, APC governors and PDP governors are on the same page in terms of the fact that this bill should not be passed until the indirect system of primary is introduced into the bill. So they're all on the same page, but we are not going to listen to that. If you need to read our press statement, and we've made it very clear. We said, look, this is about Nigerian politicians, and I want to be reasonably convinced, do you understand, that the reason why they are also doing what they are doing is not necessarily because direct mode of primary it's a problem. It's because they are afraid of future elections. Because, like I said, this is a mode. It's a popular or a populist system where a popular candidate will emerge, can always emerge from a free and fair process. I was expecting to see a situation whereby the political parties will say we can make the most of this direct primary system. And let me also say this. people need to follow our thought process. When this process started, before it was passed into we made, in our own statement, we said the two modes of primaries should be maintained in the Act. We were very clear. Now, when they didn't do that, and it is only one way that was inserted exclusively, we said, let the president go ahead and sign the bill. We don't want this imbroglio between the political players to undermine the process of this bill. So you will see that we've seen some certain things that are very good about this bill that we don't want either direct or indirect primaries, to compromise. We supported both modes of primary. We issued a statement. We condemned the National Assembly for introducing just only one mode of primary. But since it has become it, now we are convinced that both direct and indirect have been bastardized by politicians. Tell me which one PDP is known for indirect mode of primary. APC made use of direct primaries largely in some certain areas and indirect admixture of both systems. Tell me, both parties have in a way, model of those process. People always crying foul in both parties. Look at Andy Uba scored 240,000 or 230,000 in the APC primaries and barely scored for 3,000 in the elections. What about in the PDP, where people have been alleged that the indirect system, have they been rigged out and all of that? And how democratic even is the indirect system that have been long practiced by the PDP? Because for you to have ward executive, there must be election at the level of the ward. They don't do this election. What they do is just a caucus arrangement where they will pick some persons and they say these are the ward executives. And among these ward executives, that's where they are going to pick delegates. They are supposed to be election for ad hoc delegate. They don't do this election. They will do what we call selection, and there is always rancorous. But we are saying that either direct that is exclusively retained in the bill, or indirect that is exclusively retained in the bill, whichever one, we don't care. We know that we can make the best of this if we are serious. So what we need to do is to strengthen the process. So now that they've retained direct, we don't want to get in between governor versus National Assembly. What we are saying is that the president should pass the bill. The president should assent to the bill. And if there are concerns after the president has assented to the bill, there is a leeway. For instance, the president did that in the case of the Petroleum Industry Act, where after it was passed and assented to by the president also further sent an amendment, and that amendment is currently before the National Assembly. So we are begging the governors, begging the National Assembly member that this process must not be truncated. Allow Mr. President to give us a birthday gift by signing this, by signing this bill. Then after that, if there are concerns in January, tell the president to come up with an amendment or get a senator to sponsor an amendment. All
right, we're short on time now, so let's end it in the next 30 seconds with this final question. With everything you've gone through to this point, do you feel fulfilled?
Fulfillment is not really the word here. It's still a work in progress. For me,
do you feel fulfilled when it's finally signed?
Yeah, I will feel happy. My fulfillment is not just that the bill is assented. My fulfillment is that we're able to get good leaders, and good leaders are able to bring good governance, and we're able to address our challenges and our problems.
I know I said that was the last question. Let me sneak in one last one. Now that let's assume we do get the birthday present. What is next for Ariyo-Dare Atoye? What next cause are you taking up? What can someone expect from you now?
Yeah, we from the signing of the bill, we will start immediately engage INEC to deepen electoral integrity. We need to conscientize Nigerians about the implication of the bills, the things that are there, and also they have a campaign that I've been running for, like the cost of your vote. That people must not sell their votes. We put a cost to it. For instance, I define the cost of a vote because there's a financial cost, health costs, education costs. The financial cost of a vote in Nigeria, according to our definition, is the minimum wage multiplied by 12 months, multiplied by 4 years. Because when you elect somebody, that person is there for 4 years. So if you collect 5,000 now, you have denied yourself about 1.something million.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was interesting. So, as you said, you're still going to continue in the electoral
We
aspects.
will, as long as I am alive, I will continue to support, the strengthening of Nigerian electoral process.
All right, so Ariyo-Dare Atoye, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Right. I know this was very stressful for you. Thanks for me.